I woke up this morning feeling like absolute garbage, and then I got some horrible news. It appears as if a Supreme Court case that was supposed to be and was hyped up as being a potential massive win, as something that could be a huge win for the Second Amendment rights and future court cases that we see in America, it appears as if it was shut down. Basically, let me wrap everyone in case you have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, they sued the city of New York because they had a law that required people to have a premises permit for a firearm. They could only then shoot that gun at one of 7 locations inside the city, most of them being closed to the public or its members, and that left basically one of them that was actually able to have the average person go to. They were not allowed to take their gun outside of city limits and shoot it anywhere else. And what basically this led to was people being unable to actually train with their firearms, increasing the barrier to entry to a point where they could no longer actually exercise their rights, and prevented their ability to travel in and out of state and in and out of the city with their own firearms that were legally owned by them. This is an issue, and this was a big issue. However, so what happened next while this got appealed up to the Supreme Court was some big brain level IQ 9000 moves by the state and the city of New York. What they did was the city repealed that prohibition on transport outside of the city and only allowing it to one of those 7 locations. And then the state passed a law making that ordinance illegal. Basically what they tried to do was say, hey, look, no. Hey, no, I know that we said you couldn't do that, but look, it's not legal now. So this court case, get it out of here. It doesn't matter. They were saying that the court case no longer was valid because the laws were not in effect. This seems like that was a win, right? The New York State Rifle and Pistol Association gets what they want. They get the court case. Basically, they accomplish the goal that was initially asked for, right? Well, no, because what we wanted here and what many people expected was to have this court case be about much more. This was going to be one of the first times that we saw a Second Amendment case at the Supreme Court in a long time. So here's the bigger implication of this. One of the judges that concurred with this ruling was Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh was a Trump appointee. We've all kind of held to the belief that having Trump in the White House, the one good thing that people can't really argue about is the fact that he's putting more pro-Second Amendment, more conservative judges on the Supreme Court and federal courts. And this seems good for guns, right? However, let me read to you something. However, the thing is, at the end of the day, Kavanaugh voted against the Second Amendment here. Some people are saying that they read his opinion of it and they think that he is itching to actually pass something pro-2A, but when you look at it here, we have 3 judges that were on the dissent that voted against it. Kavanaugh did not. So we really know who is on our side and who isn't. Kavanaugh voted in favor of this, meaning that he, regardless of how he feels about guns, it doesn't matter. Right here, this was a loss. This was a loss for us because of him, because he voted with that. So I'm going to read something from the dissent now. I'm going to leave a link down below so you can read this for yourself, and then maybe later today I'll do a live stream where we can have a little bit more of a chat about this. So Justice Alito, he said, by incorrectly dismissing this case as moot, the court permits our docket to be manipulated in a way that should not be countenanced. 12 years ago in District of Columbia versus Heller, we held that the Second Amendment protects the right of ordinary Americans to keep arms. 2 years later, our decision in McDonald versus Chicago established that this right is fully applicable to the states. Since then, the lower courts have decided numerous cases involving Second Amendment challenges to a variety of federal, state, and local laws. Most have failed. We have been asked to review many cases of these decisions, but until this case, we denied all such requests. On January 22, 2019, we granted review to consider the constitutionality of New York City ordinance that burdened the right recognized in Heller. Among other things, the ordinance prohibited law-abiding New Yorkers with the license to keep a handgun in the home, a premises license, from taking that weapon to a firing range outside the city. Instead, premises licensees wishing to gain or maintain the ability to use their weapons safely were limited to 7 firing ranges in the city, all but one of which were largely restricted to members and their guests. In the district court and the Court of Appeals, the city vigorously and successfully defended the constitutionality of its ordinance, and the law was upheld based on what we are told is the framework for reviewing Second Amendment claims that have been uniformly adopted by the Court of Appeals. One might have thought that the city, having convinced the lower courts that its law was consistent with Heller, would have been willing to defend its victory in this court. But once we granted certiorari, basically meaning once we said yes, we'll review this case, both the city and the state of New York sprang into action to prevent us from deciding this case. Although the city had previously insisted that its ordinance serve important public safety purposes, our grant of review apparently led to an epiphany of sorts, and the city quickly changed its ordinance. And for good measure, the state enacted a law making the old New York City ordinance illegal. So basically, here's what happened, and this is why I think this is the most damaging, because it's proven. This is a now proven tactic that could work in many other places across the nation. The state and the government was able to uphold their unconstitutional infringements on the Second Amendment. They then saw that they could lose and it could be damaging. Even if they thought they could win at the Supreme Court level, they felt that it was not worth the risk. They saw the Supreme Court willing to take this court case because, like he said many times before, and basically for a long time, they have not heard Supreme Court cases. So they've thought, if we can win at the district level, if we can win at the circuit level, we're good. They saw it go up to the Supreme Court and they said, oh shit. So they quickly repealed all of those laws, meaning that it could not have an effect nationwide. Because this law was very specific and was very tailored to that specific law. However, this could have been, and potentially could have been, the basis of framework that would expand upon Heller and would expand upon people's ability to carry guns outside their home. I don't think that this was ever going to be the court case that gave us constitutional carry. That's not what it was supposed to be. What this was supposed to be was a way that we would have more framework to specifically say, here is why you cannot pass these gun laws. Because while I agree, and many of you watching this video probably also agree, that every gun law is an infringement, you can't just walk into a courthouse and say, every gun law is an infringement, goodbye, let me know what you decide. That's just not how it works, unfortunately. This could have been a great framework that we could have built upon and worked with in the future to get many other things passed our way. And that's why this is such a big deal. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. Like I said, I'm gonna have a link to this opinion that you can read down below for yourself. Maybe I'll live stream today. If there's enough interest, we'll do a live stream later in the day, maybe at night, and we can have a bit more of a chat about this. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. As always, have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.